All right, so before I get into the review, I guess I should probably tell you how I wound up in Baltimore, of all places, since I run a a positive geek culture website for Michigan. For those who know me, they know that I love MagFest, which is short for Music and Gamer Fest. Awesome video game music festival held in Maryland each year at the beginning of the year. It's my yearly vacation. So they throw on a summer concert called BitGen Gamer Fest, and I looked into it and I was like, yeah, maybe it'd be cool. And then I got hit with that urge. You know when you have that feeling that you have that strong urge to do something, that if you ignore it, you know you're going to regret it. That's what I felt with BitGen Gamer Fest. I felt that with my geek scene, with what would become my geek scene. I felt the strong urge to do that. Felt that way with going to MagFest for the first time, and I was just looked over the lineup and I thought that was pretty cool. And there's one band in particular who I will talk about later in this review that really sealed the deal and made me decide to book a flight and a hotel and buy a ticket as soon as it was available to go out to BitGen. I mean, really, 17 bands for $25. You can't really go wrong with that. That's an awesome deal when you're going to a music festival. So talk more about that a little bit later. Now, before I really get into all the bands that I saw, I definitely wanted to mention a few things. Like I mentioned, BitGen was like a one-day music festival, and it was held at the Auto Bar in Baltimore, which was a dive bar, and that is not a bad thing because some of the best shows that I've ever seen have been in dive bars. It's far more intimate, and it's just really cool. And most of the times at dive bars, the sound is usually pretty excellent, at least the shows that I've gone to. So as I mentioned, it was held in the Auto Bar. It was in two different floors of the Auto Bar. There was the downstairs performance area and the upstairs performance area. And it took me a few bands, like at least two bands, to realize where the upstairs was. And I felt that probably signage would definitely help for newbies like myself in the future. I mean, once you found out where the upstairs was, it was easy to get there, and it wasn't far from downstairs bar. But I was the first timer there, and I had nowhere idea where to go because there was like a little balcony that was hanging over the main stage downstairs, and I thought that was the upstairs area. And I was like, wow, that's a very tiny performance space. But it turns out I was wrong, and I'm glad I was wrong. Throughout the building, there were numerous consoles and arcade units that you could actually play. I saw a few games which were like X-Men for the Genesis, Area 51, Tron, Street Fighter 3, and GoldenEye 64, just to name a few. And they even had a Pokemon Go tournament sign-up sheet, but I didn't play anything. I just was there for the music. But it was pretty cool that you had the options to do all this stuff while all this awesome music was on in the background. So that's pretty cool. So as I mentioned, there was like 17 acts that were performing throughout the day. And like, how does one keep track of all of that, especially from a staff member point of view? And one of the things that I noticed was there was a time monitor on the side of the stage counting down time for setup and time for performing, and it seemed like a solid way of keeping things on track. Each band was given a half an hour, and like the main event acts were given like 40 minutes. So while one band was setting up, another band was performing at the other location in the building. Like, say for instance, someone was playing downstairs, someone upstairs is getting ready to set up, and as soon as someone was downstairs was done, that other person would go on, and it would keep the flow going. So there was a little bit of overlap, but you had the opportunity to check out all the acts if you wanted to, and I definitely wanted to talk more about the acts, so here we go. So first on the list, and I'm sporting their snazzy shirt, X Hunters. Once again, they didn't disappoint. They were a great way to start off the show. I love their Symphony of the Night medley, and I honestly hope they record that soon. Definitely, it's just an awesome band to check out. Would recommend, and they're just good dudes. So yeah, definitely, X Hunters was awesome. Next up was Garbage Masher, and honestly, I will be the first to admit that I had wrote off Garbage Masher when I did my quick research on all the bands that were performing. I just didn't gel with like the chiptune mixed with rock music that I heard online. Now, I saw them live, And I will admit I was wrong. They're definitely way better live than what I heard, what I initially heard and wrote off. Like, just awesome music. It was definitely rock music with chiptune, like the full lineup with a bassist, a guitar, a 12-string guitarist, might I add, and a drummer. Sounded way better than what I initially heard, and I definitely will be diving deeper into their catalog. Garbage Master gets a thumbs up from me. Cool band. Definitely want to check out more from them in the future. Random Battles. Man. Awesome prog metal. It was never had heard of this band prior to BitGen Gamer Fest, and I was blown away. I know that one of the guitarists is in Cowabunga Pizza Time, but I was blown away by how awesome this band was. You know, 2 guitarists, a bassist, person on keyboards, and a drummer, and it was just awesome prog covers. And I dug their Illusion of Gaia cover. I've never played the game, but just listening to music, I was like, that cover of that song, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And they just blew me away. Definitely thumbs up to them, and I will be purchasing all of their albums in the future. Just good stuff. I mean, solid. I mean, this is like 3 bands into this, and it was like already a very solid lineup. I mean, like the whole lineup looked pretty cool, but I really can't complain about all this. Up next was Wreck the System, an awesome nerdcore crew. I saw them earlier at MagFest this year, and I was floored by their stage presence. They're great at choreography. They're great at getting the crowd hype, and it wasn't any different for BitGen Gamer Fest. I love this song. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called. The chorus was "Do the Roar," and like the crowd was doing the Colossus roar during that, and like just Wreck the System. They're all around cool cats and good music, good people. Would recommend them. Now at the end of their set, Twill Distilled had performed with a backup group a song off of her upcoming album, so that's something to look forward to. Wreck the System, great time. Glad they were on the bill for this event, and you can't go wrong with them. You should definitely check out their Wreckfest album. It's pretty solid, and it's a pretty solid introduction to nerdcore hip hop. The next person I saw was Aeoxis, and I initially had wrote him off from my quick research of bands to check out at BitGen, and I arrived to his set by accident because I thought I was going to go to the Viking Guitar set, but it was Aeoxis instead, and I was going to leave, but then I decided to stick around and check out his music, and honestly I was glad that I did, because it made me realize that I was a bit of a fool for writing him off initially. I really enjoyed his cover of Snake Eater from Metal Gear Solid 3 and I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan. I mean, honestly, I was not expecting that. All around talented musician, loved the backup band and the vocalist with it, and I guess I need to reevaluate, not I guess, I should reevaluate my attention to music. Like as far as like when I'm doing research in groups, like do deep dives instead of like surface level skimming. Like give a few songs into it instead of like, hey, here's one song, it's not working out, write it off. Definitely will look forward to more of this guy's stuff in the future. Aeoxis, pretty good in my book. I'm glad that I got to catch your set. Even if it was by accident, I'm glad I got to catch your set. Cool stuff. Viking Guitar. I finally got to see a live performance from this extremely talented guitarist. I missed out on his set with the backup band at MagFest 2018, and I wasn't going to make that same mistake again. And, you know, honestly, I'm glad I got to see him. Totally solid dude, excellent guitarist, and his cover of Cave Story, even though I've never played the game, made me feel like I was going on a journey. It's kind of hard to describe, but that's the feeling that I got from the music, you know, and it's pretty much the best I can come up with my description of the song, but just definitely should go check out his cover of Cave Story. Hey, what can I say? The guy does awesome metal covers of video game songs. His medley of Mega Man X2 was pretty solid, and now I can thankfully say that I can check him off my list of bands to see. And after his set, I got to talk to him for a few minutes and talk to him about how I appreciated his music, how I bought his whole discography, and we just talked about music in general. Totally cool dude. Support his stuff. Up next was Super MadNES. Man, I was not familiar with this band prior to BitGen, and I was blown away. two guitarists, two guitarists, and a drummer. And my best way to describe him is like a metal VGM version of Arch Enemy, which is a pretty solid band, no matter from what era. Just dueling guitars and dueling guitars, just excellent stuff. I know I keep saying excellent, but that's like my best adjective to describe all the music that I was encountering, and this band was not any different. I mean, they were tight when they were playing guitar. I mean, I will always be a sucker for and find it impressive when I hear dual lead harmonies together. I mean, they played the best metal cover of the RoboCop theme that I've ever heard. I was not expecting a track from the Batman NES game, and I was blown away by what they did with it. Their guitar solos were awesome. Their guitar solos were awesome. All around, just a solid band to check out. And I will definitely be buying all of their albums too. Just tight music, tight musicians, tight was the way I could describe Super Madness. I don't know how to pronounce it. I want to say it's WASD or WASD. I don't think it's WASD, but WASD. Another solid band. Features one of the members. I want to say the key songwriter for Steel Samurai. They do metal covers of songs from PC games, and honestly, I was not expecting that. It's an interesting take on the VGM approach. I might be ignorant, but I'm surprised not more groups are doing that. It was the first time I ever heard anyone do a cover of a Duke Nukem song, and I thought that it was unexpected but pleasantly welcomed. And I was personally geeked when they did a cover of the Monkey Island theme song. Just that game doesn't get enough love, to be honest. And WASD, I'll definitely be buying all their albums in the future too. I know I keep repeating I will buy all their albums, but like all these bands that I saw, I enjoy their music and I want to help support them. So yes, I will be buying all of their music in the future too. So good stuff. And check out Steel Samurai too. Another solid band. Check out this snazzy shirt. This shirt's from year 2000X, which was the band that actually was the linchpin in my decision-making process to go out to BitGen Gamer Fest. They actually hail from Lansing, Michigan, and they do awesome metal covers of songs. And I had got into them after they had broken up. I remember when I found out about them shortly, I had reached out like, hey, are you guys still doing shows? And I got a big old nope. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just enjoy your music. And the fact that they had a long overdue 7-year reunion at BitGen Gamer Fest was enough of a reason for me to go out to this show. Yes, I had to travel all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan to go out to Baltimore to see a band from Lansing. It's funny how things work out, but it was definitely well worth the trip and the lack of sleep that I had over the weekend. They ran through as many songs as possible from their 2 albums during their 40-minute set. And while I was watching them perform, I enjoyed seeing the happiness on their faces. I mean, it seemed like to me like they had missed this and they were meeting up with an old friend that they hadn't seen in a long time, and that's performance, obviously. But it was just really, really cool watching all these dudes just crush everything. And like the music was just this assault of awesome metal, one song after another, and it was just they weren't letting up, and it was just really cool. And if they never do another show again, I'm glad that I got to witness that historic reunion. And honestly, I hope you guys do more shows. I mean, if you're watching this, I really do want you to do more shows, especially in Michigan. I shouldn't have to fly out to Baltimore to see you every year, but definitely, I hope they do more sets, and I hope they release more albums. Hopefully, this isn't a one-off, and they just continue to do cool things. And I have to give a shout out to the drummer for sporting an Emperor shirt. Emperor is my favorite black metal band of all time. You're a cool dude for wearing that. The band that closed out my night at BitGen was the Megas. I can't say that I was overly familiar with them, but it was pretty cool that they created original songs with lyrics based around video game themes as the base. Since I wasn't familiar, I missed out on singing along with the crowd who were singing along to everything. Certainly not a bad band that I wouldn't be opposed to seeing again. I definitely need to dive more into the catalog so I can have a deeper appreciation and familiarity with what they do. But pretty cool band to check out. BitGen Gamerfest was a wonderful experience during my time in Maryland. I loved all the bands and acts that were on the bill. Each one of them brought something different, genre-wise, or if they were in the same genre, they just added a little something different for everyone to experience. And it was just a great time. It was like a little bit of something for everybody. There was like not one terrible act on the whole lineup. The only thing, and it's a minor nitpick, the only thing that I would change is I would have put on Year 2000X as the last group. But I'm just a little biased as far as that goes. I mean, it was a great time, and I definitely could see myself returning to BitGen Gamerfest in the future. So as I'm wrapping this up, I wanted to give you a few shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to Adam, to Dom, and the rest of the BitGen Gamerfest crew for all the hard work they did to throw on an awesome music experience for me. I mean, I totally appreciate all the stuff that you guys do. I know a lot of you are part of the MagFest crew, and you know I really love MagFest, but BitGen Gamerfest was a special time for me, and I'm thankful for all you guys. Shout out to the Auto Bar for hosting this event. It's just a cool place to check out. Staff were super nice, super helpful. One of them helped point me in the direction of a nearby restaurant where I had some pretty solid food. Shout out to all the bands and acts that performed. You folks all had awesome music, and it's too bad I couldn't get to check out every one of you, but the ones that I was able to check out, I had a pretty good time. Not a terrible band or act on the whole lineup. You guys were all awesome. Shout outs to all of you. Shout out to the father who brought his young kid to experience BitGen Gamerfest. I wish I had parents that had did cool things like that with me when I was growing up, but it's cool to see that one generation passing on cool music to the next. You can never start people too young on good music. Granted, yes, music is subjective. I still think it was awesome that this father wanted to share awesome covers of video game music with his kid. And the last shout out must go out to Sam Griffin of Sam Griffin Guitar and Super Guitar Bros. As I mentioned in my video on Otakon, I had surprised Sam with my appearance at that convention, and he asked me like why I was there, and I told him of BitGen Gamerfest. And that dude took a train from DC to Baltimore to make it out to BitGen Gamerfest, to my surprise. And I was glad that he made it out to the show. I mean, just who knew that like a little tidbit like, hey dude, I'm going to be at this is the real reason why I'm in Maryland, would plant that seed to make him go check it out. He wanted to check out Year 2000X, and that dude made it. So that's that old saying like, well, I can never make it out to the thing. Well, if there's a will, there's a way. If you really want to do something, you're going to go after it. So I'm glad that Sam could make it out to the show, and I'm glad I got to hang out with him. I finally got to know the dude. So shout out to you, Sam Griffin. But folks, this wraps up my review of BitGen Gamerfest, which was part 2 of my awesome kick-ass weekend in Maryland. Take it easy.